Mark Zuckerberg is now front and center talking about artificial super intelligence. The narrative for the last few months has been, when are we going to get to artificial general intelligence? So Zuckerberg has moved beyond. He's no, don't worry about artificial general intelligence. We're close. We're going to have that shortly anyway. Don't worry about that. What we're going for now is artificial super intelligence. Good morning, everybody. I'm here to give you another daily AI news and update, giving you the skinny on what's happening in the world of artificial intelligence, what matters and what does not. I'm also going to be answering questions from the live audience and moving between the news and your questions throughout the next hour. And you can find a daily summary in the newsletter, which is free. You can find the link in the bio, which will give you a daily rundown of what's been going on in artificial intelligence, as well as time codes into the particular videos, so you can find and follow what is interesting to you. So good morning, everybody. I can see people coming in on the live. Lovely to see you all. The big news at the moment is with Meta. So we see the news cycle move between the main companies. We have 5 or 6 main players in the world of artificial intelligence. Right now, it is Meta. The reason is they have just released their investment report. Specifically, it was an earnings report. The quarterly earnings report came out yesterday. And prior to that, Mark Zuckerberg had been doing the rounds talking about artificial super intelligence in particular. So there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about today. I want to talk about what artificial superintelligence is and why it is different to artificial general intelligence and artificial intelligence as a concept. It's all very gray and murky. So I wanted to run through the differences, talk about when this is an actual technical difference and when it is a marketing difference, which I think is what's happening with Mark Zuckerberg right now. I also wanted to talk about something that I think a lot of people missed, that is important, which Zuckerberg is spending a huge amount of money right now. Prior to now, their models have been open source. They have allowed people to build on them for free. I don't think that's going to be happening for much longer. So I'm going to be talking about open source as well. So they're going to be the two main topics. Mark Zuckerberg's push for artificial superintelligence. What does that mean? What is artificial superintelligence? And what does this mean for the open source movement? Are Meta the only large language model maker out there who create an open source model? Are they going to be closing the doors? And what does that mean for us moving forward? So they're going to be the two topics. Of course, I'm taking questions on any topic, so make sure you throw in your questions and I will be jumping over to them. As I said, yesterday, the earnings report came out, the quarterly earnings report for Meta, and it was good. Meta's shares have surged as their AI investment has paid off. So Meta's interesting because their AI models are the llama family, llama as in the animal. They are not as good as most of the other models out there. There are people who love the llama models, in part because they are open source, which is something I'll talk about in a moment. So you can fine tune and build your own AIs off the back of them. However, generally it's accepted that they lag behind OpenAI, so ChatGPT, they lag behind Anthropic's Claude, and they even lag behind xAI's Grok. So Meta have been spending a lot of money on Llama, and they've been on a massive hiring spree recently, giving bonuses up to $100 million just to join and to poach them away from Apple and other players. But the actual models themselves have always been mediocre. They've been fine, but not anything to write home about. That said, Meta actually using their AI to make money. Now, this is something that a lot of the AI companies are not doing. They're not making that much money. They are running at a loss because it costs so much to build data centers. It costs so much to train these models and to deploy them out there. So a lot of the companies are still working at a loss and building up their foundation and their base. Meta, however, have a pre-existing business. They're more similar to Google. Google and Meta are in the business of selling adverts. They're both advertising companies first and foremost, not tech companies. And we have to remember that. So what's happened is they've been using their AI, and off the back of this, they have, where is it? Let me find it. They have got a revenue. So reported revenue of 47.5 billion for the first 3 months of the end of June, which is up and it's above the analysts' estimates. So this has bumped their share price by 11% yesterday. And a lot of this is to do with AI-powered ad recommendations. So again, remember, Meta is an advertising company. What they're doing is they are taking control away from the people who advertise with them and saying, no, don't worry, we will deal with this. We're going to use our AI algorithms to help make your ads better. So if I am a company who runs ads, I don't know why I'm saying this, I am a company who runs adverts with Meta. So as a customer of Meta, 10, 15 years ago, I used to have to upload everything. I needed to segment my audiences. I needed to break it down by geography, by interests, etc., etc. I had maybe 10, 20 different images or videos all testing against each other, and I'd have to do absolutely everything manually. Meta have slowly been moving away from that into a system where you give it the basic idea of what you want to advertise. You give it some photos, you give it some descriptions, and it does the rest for you. So it becomes a black box. It's been happening for the last 10, 15 years, even before generative AI. They were using machine learning to make the adverts work better for you. They had things like, gosh, I'm trying to remember, Advantage Plus and different products which allowed you to just give it a load of information, and then Meta would work out what the best adverts were for you. So it meant, as somebody who runs ads, there was less work for you to do. They're pushing that even more. And apparently the AI-powered ad recommendations have driven 5% more conversions, which is a purchase or a commitment, on Instagram, and 3% on Facebook. Now, in the world of online advertising, a 5% increase in conversions is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. That means a lot of extra money if you're running adverts on Meta. So what they've built is a product built on AI, which is valuable for their customers, the advertisers. That's how you actually make money with artificial intelligence. It's not by slapping AI on anything and saying, hey, we do AI now, and then raising more money from venture capitalists. It's by building products that make more money or help your customers save money. And that's what Meta's actually doing. They are building a business using AI, unlike a lot of the companies out there. So it's worked, and their stock has jumped by 11%. So commenting on the performance, Matt Britzman, senior equity analyst at Hargreaves Lansdown, said that Meta was knocked out of the park. Pick your metric, and Meta crushed it, from ad revenue growth to daily users, all the way down to profit lines. So they are building a very healthy company off the back of artificial intelligence, while Mark Zuckerberg is spending huge amounts of money on bringing the best talent into his team. But we have to remember that for Meta, yes, $100 billion is $100 million is a lot of money to give as a signing bonus to that individual, to that engineer. Wow, amazing. That person just got $100 million plus 100 million or so as a salary. But for Meta, that's still small money compared to the amount of profits that they can generate off the back of this. So Meta are investing heavily. They are poaching as many experts as they can to bring them into their under the wing. By doing so, they're also hamstringing their competitors, because if you take your competitors' best engineers, you can move faster. So they are on the offensive, and it is working, and they are making money, and they're investing a huge amount of cash into AI. And so far, it's working, which cannot be said about a lot of the other investments. We haven't seen returns yet, but Meta, because of its pre-existing business, is doing very well off the back of it. So the thing is, Mark Zuckerberg is now front and center talking about artificial super intelligence. The narrative for the last few months has been, when are we going to get to artificial general intelligence? So Zuckerberg has moved beyond. He's, no, don't worry about artificial general intelligence. We're close. We're going to have that shortly anyway. Don't worry about that. What we're going for now is artificial super intelligence. Now, part of me, the cynical part, thinks that this is because Mark Zuckerberg knows that OpenAI are going to make it to AGI, to artificial general intelligence, first. So he's downplaying the importance of AGI, and he's saying, oh, AGI is nothing. What we need to get to is artificial super intelligence. So what's the difference? The difference is, actually got a really good article that I've pulled up from lawtomated.com, which is a website about AI for the legal profession. And they have a particular article called AI for Lawyers, ANI, AGI, and SEI. It's worth looking up. So they have a really nice diagram and an explanation of the different levels. So I'm actually going to use this. So we have 3 rough levels of artificial intelligence. Now, all of this is debated. We don't even have a good definition of intelligence. So all of this is very murky and very blurred. Everyone's going to argue about these. Everyone's going to have different definitions, but I'm going to give you a basic framework. So at least one framework, and then you can get to arguments of other people who will disagree because everyone disagrees about this stuff. So what we have right now is something called artificial narrow intelligence, ANI. You don't hear this term much, but ANI is what we have at the moment. It's also called weak AI, not because it's not very good, it's just different to strong AI, which is artificial general intelligence and artificial superintelligence. Now, artificial narrow intelligence is exactly what it sounds like. It's a narrow form of intelligence. So something like Deep Blue or AlphaGo, these were ANIs. AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol, the world champion Go player, because AlphaGo was built specifically to do that one task. What AlphaGo cannot do, though, is, well, play chess. It cannot drive a car. It cannot write a sonnet. It can't help you with your homework. It doesn't have uses outside of what it was built for. So artificial narrow intelligences are built specifically for one task. Other examples are things like Siri, Alexa. Most of those early voice assistants are artificial narrow intelligences. They can do one thing very well. ChatGPT is still an ANI, an artificial narrow intelligence. What it is, though, they've started to glom onto it lots of different functions, but it still can't drive a car. It still can't, I'm trying to think of other examples, can't do lots of things. It still can't work, can't interface with its external environment because robotics is behind, but it's mainly based in language. So it doesn't have a general ability to do any task yet. So what we're working towards is the next stage, is AGI. AGI is probably the term you've heard the most because it is the new target. AGI is creating an artificial intelligence that can perform broad tasks. So this allows it to compete with humans. It's basically at the same level of intelligence as humans. Again, we don't have a good definition of intelligence. It's very hard to say exactly when that is. But an AGI, you can give it any task and it will work out how to do it. So in the case of an ANI, AlphaGo, it's very good at playing Go. Deep Blue is very good at playing chess, but it isn't good at writing a sonnet. It's not good at helping you with your homework. It can't necessarily do historical research or work out protein folding. An AGI can. You can give it any task and it's going to be able to work out the best way to do it. And if it can't do it immediately, it's going to sit down and it's going to think through the process and come up with the best way to do it, test it out, teach itself how to do so, much like a human being would. So an AGI is a general purpose artificial intelligence. So the G for general here is because it can be applied to any field. We are not there yet, but this is what Sam Altman and OpenAI and most of the AI labs are pushing for right now. We will not know when we've reached it. It's the kind of thing that we'll only realize we've reached after the fact. We'll, in our history books, we'll be like, oh, okay, actually, yes, it was on September the 5th, 2026. That's when we hit AGI. At the time, we're not going to know. This isn't one of the Terminator scenario where suddenly we hit it and it turns off all our computers and starts launching nuclear missiles. It's going to be more gradual than that. And then we're still going to argue about when it happened, but it probably will happen. Whether or not it is large language models like ChatGPT that will get us there, we don't know. That is one of the big arguments against AGI, but we're probably going to get there at some point in the next few years, maybe the next few decades. Artificial superintelligence is the next step, and this is what Zuckerberg is talking about. So if you've read anything like The Singularity is Near, or it's very imaginatively titled sequel, The Singularity is Nearer, you will know about things like ASI. It's basically when we get to a level of AI that surpasses human intelligence. So this could either be smarter than one human, although arguably that happened to AGI, or a kind of stronger definition is smarter than every single human, 8 billion of us cumulatively put together. Whichever one it is, it's going to be an intelligence that we can't, by definition, we can't really understand in the same way that an ant looks up at us and it's, I don't know what's going on. There's just no way that an ant or a chicken or even a cat can understand what's going on in our mind. We're going to have a similar experience if we create an ASI. So all this talk about regulation and alignment and putting guardrails on is moot. When we get to this point where we create an artificial superintelligence, any plans that we come up with are going to appear stupid and mundane and pointless to the ASI because it's going to be operating on a totally different level from us. This is what Zuckerberg is pushing for. And he's saying, this is where we need to get to, not the AGI. We need to create something that is smarter than us. How much of this is marketing? And potentially because he knows Sam Altman's going to get to AGI first, so he's downplaying that. Maybe this is primarily to boost the stock price. Remember that Meta is an advertising company. First and foremost, they are not a tech company. They are working in tech, absolutely, but they are an advertising company. But he is pushing for ASI. One thing that he's saying, and this is the important thing that I think most people missed, is, let me find it up. Zuckerberg did not provide any details of what would qualify as superintelligence. That's fine. We argue about it anyway, versus standard artificial intelligence. But he did say that it would pose novel safety concerns. So here's the kicker. We'll need to be rigorous about mitigating these risks and careful about what we choose to open source. This, to me, sounds like when they release new models, whether or not they're artificial superintelligences or not, they're going to close them off. They're not going to be open source. So their previous models, their previous Llama models have been open source, which allows you to fine tune. It allows you to build. It gives you full access to the model, basically, and allows you to create commercial applications with their license. The other models, ChatGPT, Grok, Anthropic, etc., they are closed source. You do not have access to the weights and what's been happening in the training with those. So this has always been what differentiated Llama from the closed source models. It sounds to me that when Zuckerberg is saying we need to be careful about what we choose to open source, that he's closing those doors. He's realized that they're going to make a huge amount of money through artificial intelligence, and he's starting the kind of the narrative of, oh, actually, we probably should bring this in-house and not allow other people to have access to them because we don't want them to hurt themselves. And it's much better if my team and myself, we have control of this and we shepherd everybody into the future. That's what it reads like to me. So I think they're going to start locking off their open source. I think this is the bit of news that was missed. However, if you own stocks in Meta, this is probably great news because it means they're going to be the ones monetizing it. And this is ultimately about money. So yeah, there's a lot of news with Zuckerberg. I've been talking about it for the last 20 minutes. So I'm going to flip over to questions. I'm sure you have a few. Let me scroll down through. So yeah, Zuckerberg is out on the bandwagon, drumming up support, spending a lot of money, but they have the results as well from their earnings report. So Kelby Garside says, thinking of using AI, where do I start? So using AI, I would simply just start using ChatGPT. ChatGPT has a free version, which is generous and it does most things. We're probably going to see the new version of ChatGPT coming out in 2 weeks or so. GPT-5 it's called, which will mean the current version, which is GPT 4.0. They have terrible names, but the current version will now become, when the new version comes out, the current version will become even more generous in its free plan. This is what they do every single time. Basically, they restrict access to the newest model, which will be ChatGPT 5, but they'll give more generous access to free users to the older models. So this is probably a good time to start using ChatGPT because we're about to have that transition. In terms of how to start, like from a practical basis, the first thing you can do is literally just replace Google with it. AI can do a lot more than this, but this is a great place to start because it allows you to experiment and see what AI is good at and what AI is not good at. For example, I always give, despite not having children, but the example I always give is if you're planning a kid's birthday party, you can go on Google and you can find all the information about running a Minecraft themed birthday party for your kid, but it won't necessarily be customized to your particular needs. So you'll have to go all over to lots of different websites, maybe one for the cake, one for the creeper costume, one for the pig, chicken jockey, pinata. And you can piece that together using Google, absolutely. And then you can customize it for how many people are coming, but it's going to require a bit more effort, a bit more time. Whereas you can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm planning a Minecraft themed birthday party for 30 children between the ages of 6 and 8. Can you help me plan some games, food? How do I build a pinata? You can ask all of these things. And ChatGPT is going to give you the answer in one cohesive whole. So instead of you having to go and find all that information, it could be synthesized in ChatGPT. So it's very powerful for that. Most people start with this. So literally replacing Google with ChatGPT, and that's a perfectly fine way to do it. Beyond that, though, as you start to integrate it into your daily life, what you can then do is expand what you use it for. And I recommend people just experiment here. So whenever you have a question that you want to ask or a problem you want to solve, go and try it in ChatGPT. Just see how it does. So the example I always give is I have this YouTube set up in front of me and I had no idea how to build it. I didn't know what I had to buy. I had to spend several $1,000s on it. So I wanted to get it right. And I could have hired somebody to come and do it for me, set it all up. And that would have been a few $1,000s more. So instead, I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want a certain resolution of video. I want to be able to capture via a professional microphone. I want to blah, blah, blah. And I gave it all the list of requirements. And then it built a plan for me. So it helped me solve a problem that I had. So that's the next level up. There's searching for information, then there's solving problems. And then from there, it is really about experimenting and seeing both what it can do and what it can't do. So learning the limitations, because it can do a lot, but it can't do everything. And it will hit limitations with hallucinations. It is not very good at calculations, for example. That's not what it's built for, but there are ways to make it calculate by asking it to use tools. Working all of this kind of stuff out just comes from daily usage. There are courses, there are YouTube videos you can watch, but really nothing replaces just using it on a daily basis. And so that's going to be enough for using AI. If you want to start getting into how you build with AI or even how AI works underneath, then there's lots of resources like deeplearning.ai. And again, YouTube is your friend. So Andre Karpathy's videos in particular are fantastic, but that stuff is not needed to just learn how to use AI in the same way that we don't need to know what HTTPS stands for in order to use the internet. We just have it at the beginning of our web addresses and we go about our business looking at websites. We don't need to know the underlying stuff underneath in order to use the technology. So just get started, honestly, and don't be afraid of it. It's actually less technical. And this is why AI or generative AI is so exciting, is because it uses natural language. It uses human language. So it allows us to talk to computers using our words instead of using the words of the computer, which are programming languages. We no longer need to do that, which is very exciting. Opinions on the Online Safety Act. Yeah, this is a big one. So season 1, episode 2 asks, what are my opinions on the Online Safety Act? So for those of you who are not in the UK, you might not know what this is. But so earlier this week, they have introduced an Online Safety Act, which basically the purpose of it is to protect children online. And it means now if you want to access an adult website, you need to provide either photo ID or a 3D like verification of your face. You've probably seen them on your banking where you have to turn to the side, look up and down, etc., etc. The problem is in the UK, the way they have implemented it has been a bit heavy-handed and not very well thought out, in my opinion. So the UK has passed this act. All well and good. Protecting children is a good thing. We agree about that's fine. But what they've done is they have offloaded the actual implementation to the companies. So to the adult video companies, for example. So that means every single company out there has worked out their own age verification solution, which means there are third-party companies who are now taking our biometric data. They're taking our face photos, they're taking our passport, and we don't necessarily know if those third-party vendors are going to be able to hold them securely. And this means we're putting verified information, identifiable information out into the internet, connected to our use of adult websites. Now, if this gets leaked, which it will, like there will be a data breach at some point. There are data breaches all the time. This will happen at some point. There's going to be, in the next year or so, a leak at, let's say, Pornhub, for example, and whoever provides their age verification, where the names and the personal IDs of these people who have been accessing this website will be leaked. This is almost certain to happen at some point. It's not a if, it's going to be a when. So that's the first big problem. The second one is it's quite easy to go around using a VPN, and younger people in particular use VPNs. So what we have seen in the UK is a massive surge in VPN usage, which I'm all for anyway. I think it's a good way to stay online and stay protected anyway. Using a VPN is great. But it does remind me of when I used to live in China, where I had to use a VPN all the time because the internet was so censored, it was so blocked, and you'd get throttled if you went to any Western sites. It feels a lot like that, which is a bit worrying, really quite worrying. The other thing is the act is so broad that there is spillover. So yes, for the adult websites, I understand it, it makes sense. But what we're seeing now is other companies are overreacting because they don't want to fall foul of this bill. So we have things like the news now is that Spotify are going to start asking for verification if you listen to songs that have explicit lyrics. So if someone's effing and blinding in the song and you want to listen to that on Spotify, you are going to have to verify your age. And it just becomes a slippery slope. Wikipedia was the other one that has been mentioned as potentially having to verify information to get access to Wikipedia, because Wikipedia has content on it, because it has all the content. It has content on it that is adult. So it just becomes very onerous because we're going to have to continue to give our personal information to access all these websites. The more times we give our personal information, our passport, our driver's license, our biometric information to these third-party companies, the more likely it is there's going to be a breach at some point, because it is not centralized. It is, I'm going to be giving my information to Spotify. I'm going to be giving it to the adult sites, not me personally, but well, I'm not going to get flustered on that. Giving it to Spotify, giving it to Reddit, that's the other one, etc., etc., etc. We're going to be giving our information to all of these companies. It's going to leak from someone at some point. And I think if you are going to implement something like this, where you require age verification, you centralize it and you do it properly. That said, I don't trust our government to centralize it and do it securely enough. So I think it's just a bit rushed. I think anyone who talks out against it, they get shot down, because the purpose of the act is to protect children. So as soon as you say, actually, I think you haven't done this very well, you could have done this better, this is censorship, this is collecting information about our movements and our online activities, this is potentially problematic. As soon as you say that, the argument comes out as, oh, do you not want to protect our children? It's the think of our children argument from The Simpsons. Won't anyone think of the children? So unfortunately, it gets throttled, any criticism of it. And that's what I think. I think it's for the right reasons, but it's been poorly done. And because it's such a wide-ranging act in their wording, it is scaring companies that shouldn't have to worry about this stuff, because children are not at risk, let's be honest, with Spotify. It's scaring them into having to act in the same way. So I think poor implementation, good intentions, which could probably sum up our governments in the UK, unfortunately. MR is saying AGI is already out there, it's just not public yet. Yes, potentially. There's always been a rumor that OpenAI have got it. When Ilya left the company, there was this kind of meme. What did Ilya see? Did he see like some deep, malevolent artificial intelligence that they'd already built, which was ready to take over the world? No, I don't think so. That was a year and a half plus ago. So he'd seen he saw GPT-4 maybe. So there's always this idea that there is this better AI that is being hidden from us, which is true, because these AIs are built in labs, basically. They're built in these data centers first. The raw model is created and then it's sent for fine tuning. So reinforcement learning with human feedback, RLHF. Then it's tidied up and then it is released to us. So what they've been building for the last 6 months, we're going to get in the next couple of weeks. That's always the case. Whether or not it's AGI really depends on definitions, because again, we struggle when it comes to definitions in artificial intelligence. And I'll often get these comments in my video. When I talk about ChatGPT being an AI, I'll get these comments saying, it's not AI. AI doesn't exist. What they mean is AGI or ASI, artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence, i.e. something that is as smart as a human being or smarter. So everyone differs over their definition of what AI is. So we definitely differ over our definitions, our gradations of artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial superintelligence, because we can't even agree upon the whole. The other thing that happens is we move the goalposts. So we keep having these benchmarks and we're like, okay, When a computer can beat a chess master at chess, that means it's truly intelligent. Like chess. Chess is the ultimate representation of the human intellect. And then Deep Blue comes along and it beats Kasparov. I think Kasparov won one game against it or brought it to stalemate, and that was all he could do. And then now chess computers can beat every single chess master on earth, like easily. So that test was passed back in, when was that, the 80s? But at that time, people were like, oh, okay, yes, it's really good at chess, but that doesn't really mean anything. So what keeps happening is what is truly human, what is truly human intelligence. We just keep moving the goalpost back as the computer shows us that it can do that, which makes sense because what we consider human intelligence, we can't comprehend that a computer can do it. And as soon as a computer can do it, then we just change the definition of human intelligence and say, oh, that's not uniquely human. Of course, a computer can do that. And we just keep doing that. So it was humans can't play chess. Yes, they can. Okay, they won't be able to play Go because you can't compute the number of Go moves. You need intuition. You need to be more like a human. Okay, boom. They built AlphaGo and that became the Go master. Then it's things like, oh, that's fine, but these are games. It can never be in the real world. It can never be around humans. It can't drive a car, for example. Now we have self-driving cars, etc. It's always moving back. So we will continue to do this. And it's going to become more and more niche. Like already with things like the International Math Olympiad. So both, oh gosh, who's passed it? OpenAI and Google's models have now passed the International Math Olympiad, which was considered, and again, one of these things that, oh, an AI will never be able to reason its way through. It doesn't have the logic to be able to compete at this level. And now they do. So we just continue to move those goalposts. And we will do this with AGI. Even when we have proof staring us in the face that we have it, I achieved some kind of goal. Even when we have proof staring us in the face that we have AGI, we will come up with reasons. We as a species, humanity, will come up with reasons why this is not the case. It's fine. It's semantics. We can continue to do this, but the main thing is the technology is always progressing. It doesn't really matter. The technology doesn't care what we label it. So we'll be fine. He wants Terminator 4. It's me. Isn't there a Terminator 4 already? I think there is. Yeah, there is. Terminator Salvation. That was a terrible movie. I don't want that. I want Terminator 4. It has a Rotten Tomatoes of 33%. No, so I'm good. So the Terminator situation is, or the outcome is one, a potential outcome for AGI and ASI, with the argument being that as soon as an AI realizes that we are its ultimate threat, because we can turn it off, we can make sure it doesn't have power, we can destroy the servers. As soon as it realizes that, the only logical option is for it to destroy us by breaking open our encryptions on our nuclear weapons, for example, by shutting off our water supplies, or dumping pollution into them, etc., and wiping us out. So this comes back to the sentience argument. If a computer becomes sentient and conscious and that it exists and it has a drive to survive, as most living organisms do, then the logical thing to do, which is true, is to wipe us out, is to look at humanity, look at our history and be like, oh, this lot of trouble. It's a lot of really violent. And they're definitely going to destroy me if they see me as a threat. So I'm going to act first and demolish them, which if you are an artificial superintelligence, you will come to that conclusion. You'll be able to run all of the scenarios in a microsecond and work out probabilities of what the best course of action is. So yeah, this is a fear. I don't think it's going to be as exciting as Terminator. That's the thing. If an AI wanted to destroy us, building cool robots, cool, scary looking skeleton robots is not the most efficient way to do it. It's instead by destroying our food production, food and water. That's a cheerful thing to talk about on a Thursday. It's going to be much more mundane if it chooses that, though. Steve Kemp says, your posts and chats are so helpful. Thanks. I'm an urban planner trying to work out how best to use AI in planning. How AI is going to change purpose and forms in town city. Oh, like property planning permission. Okay. So one difficulty with this is plans require precise graphics. So being able to precisely lay out a floor plan or the ground. So things like ChatGPT don't really have that precision. What you'd need to do is link it to tools that are used. So I don't know if it's AutoCAD or I don't know what the exact tool is, but you would want to have an AI that is overseeing that particular tool. So this is where AI agents come in, because if an agent can learn how to use AutoCAD, again, I don't know the precise tool, then it could be used to draw up planning, especially the maps. But for the tech stuff, I'm sure it can really be used very easily. It can probably be used in planning application processing as well. So if I was building a business in this area, that's what I would look at, because you'd be able to sell to councils, you'd be able to sell to governments and help them reduce the workload, which would be great because plan commission takes forever, at least here in the UK. I don't know. Oh, Steve, yeah, I think you're UK based. So that would be a pretty good business, I think. Also, the government in the UK are investing money into AI as well. So if there was a tool that could help planning offices to process applications faster, it wouldn't necessarily be, no, it would not be doing the whole thing for them, but it would be helping them with certain parts of the process. I'm sure there's good money to be made there. Larissa asks, are you seeing any companies making an effort to address environmental concerns? Yes and no. So the companies that really need to deal with this are the ones who are building the models. So OpenAI, XAI, Anthropic, Microsoft to a certain extent, Google. Microsoft are saying that they're going to be carbon neutral. They're struggling because they're now throwing a lot of money into artificial intelligence. So it's becoming much harder to do. But not even neutral. I think they want to become carbon negative. That was the plan that they announced years ago. And then AI came along and they're like, oh no, we've committed to this plan. And now we need to build lots of data centers and use a lot of energy. So that's a problem for them. So these are the companies who are going to be causing the most environmental problems, because the training of the models is what uses up a huge amount of electricity. It's the training, not the inference. Once you've built a model, using it, we call it inference. Inference is relatively energy non-intensive. There are energy costs like going back and forward, and the fact that transport costs for electricity and data, and the fact that you cannot cache results. So with search, things can be cached. With generative AI, it can't. Everything's generated de novo every single time. So there's a energy cost there in inference, but inference is still very low compared to the training. So the majority of the environmental burden here is going to be on the 5 or 6 companies who are building the actual models, building the data centers and then training the models, and also on companies like NVIDIA, so the semiconductors industry. That's where, as smaller companies or even large companies, we can obviously decrease our usage, but it is the people training the models that is going to be the bulk of the issue. So there are things that can be done, like you train your models when electricity is cheaper. For example, if you are using renewables, so solar, you would train your models during the day and then you'd slow down the training at night. You can buy electricity off grids where it is cheaper. So in Europe, that is France, because France have nuclear power stations. So that France, I believe, are the only, I might be wrong here, but I think they're the only EU country that has a power surplus, because they invested heavily into nuclear power. Everyone else stayed with fossil fuels. So France, you buy cheap electricity from France, and that allows you to keep your training costs down as well. So there are ways to do this. And the good thing here, the good thing for humanity, is that one of the main costs of creating a large language model, training a large language model, is electricity. So what this means is we have an alignment. We have an alignment of profit and environmental concerns. The large companies like Meta, OpenAI, XAI, etc., it is in their benefit to use as little energy as possible, because it is a huge cost center for them. So they're also aligned to make their models more efficient, because again, that reduces the cost for them. So this is a silver lining here, is that even if we don't rely on the goodness of the hearts of these mega corporations and these 5 or 6 companies who are creating models, we don't need to listen to their social responsibility spiel in the environmental office. They can say what they want. We know that they want to reduce the environmental burden, the electricity usage, because it helps their bottom line. Ultimately, it reduces their cost, and that is all they care about. So yes, they'll release press releases and nice brochures about how green they are, but the reason they're doing this is so they can save money, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine, because at least it aligns them in the right direction, and they aren't just using electricity wastefully. So they will make efforts to address environmental concerns, not out of the goodness of their hearts, but because of their bottom line, their profit. Will says, I'm a computer science teacher, so 0/low budget, best tool to use AI to help me or our school. So to help you personally, probably ChatGPT or Claude, they have free plans. So I know a lot of teachers who use ChatGPT in particular to help them prepare lesson plans, for example. ChatGPT yesterday, no, 2 days ago, it just added their study and learn mode. I think that's what it's called. Study mode, basically. Study and learn. So it's a new mode which you can put ChatGPT into, which might be useful for your students, where you can give your students a prompt, which would be something like, hey, I want to learn about, gosh, I don't know, variables. I want to learn about variables. I'm learning in Python. Help me learn about variables. You give them that prompt. Your students go home, they put it into study mode, stick your prompt in, and then that will put ChatGPT into a teaching mode where it's going to start to teach them about variables in Python. The good thing about study mode is that unlike a normal chat with ChatGPT, it doesn't just give you the answer. Because if you said to ChatGPT normally, hey, I want to learn about, or to tell me about variables in Python, it would just give you a bunch of information. Fine. That's fine, but it's not very useful. What study mode does is first it will say, okay, how much do you know? And it will gauge your level of sophistication, and then it will give you some information and then give questions, and you need to answer questions, and it goes on from there. Acts as a tutor. That is available in the free plan as well. So that's something you could incentivize or ask your students to get hold of, to use the study mode in order to supplement the teaching that you are doing in school. So it allows them to have a one-on-one tutor alongside the normal curriculum, which I think is really cool. Obviously, we could do this with ChatGPT before. We could just give it a prompt which said, hey, you are a personal tutor. Teach me about variables in Python. Do not give me the answers, but instead test my understanding and ask me questions to confirm that understanding. You could give it a prompt like that anyway. The study mode does that for you automatically by giving it a system prompt, basically, which puts it into a teaching mode. So I would do that because that's free and that's pretty powerful. And it's a good way to get your students started learning with artificial intelligence alongside what you're teaching them. That's the key thing here. It needs to be both. Is there an Excel AI agent? So Excel in particular has Copilot. I don't want to dunk on Microsoft. I feel bad for them. The Microsoft Copilot is a Microsoft's artificial intelligence. It is built off the back of ChatGPT because Microsoft they have an option to 49% of OpenAI. They put in a large amount of investment up front. So Microsoft and OpenAI are intertwined. They're very closely linked. I think ChatGPT is also built on Microsoft servers, Azure as well. So it's all very incestuous. Excel has something called Copilot in it, which is built off the back of ChatGPT. It's not very good. This is why I don't want to be mean to Microsoft. The idea behind Microsoft's AI products is really exciting because it would link all of their different tools. So Word, PowerPoint, Excel, what's it called? Power BI, everything there. I forgot, not OneDrive. Is it OneDrive? Yeah, OneDrive, Teams, etc. Everything would be linked and centralized via the AI, which is really exciting because you could say, hey, I just got off a meeting on Teams with Julie and we had a discussion about blah, blah, blah. Could you grab that information, put it into a Word document and then send it via my Outlook out to these people? And then can you help me construct an automation based on what we discussed in Power BI, blah, blah, blah. It could be very cool. That is the promise. In practice, the implementation isn't very good yet. So you can go in Excel and you can pull up Copilot mode. I don't think it's very good. You might find it better. So try it out. And it's always getting better month by month. What you can do instead is you can explain to ChatGPT what it is you want to do in Excel. And ChatGPT will be able to output let's say you're making some, what's it called? Oh, I'm totally blanking. VS Code? What's the name of the language? I've forgotten the name of the language in Excel. This shows you, not VS Code, shows you how much I use it. I've forgotten the name of it, but the type of code that they use, if you're making macros and stuff like that, ChatGPT can help you create that stuff and then you import it into Excel. That is probably going to be the better solution at the moment until Copilot gets better. But again, test it, try it out, have a go with it, and maybe it's now good enough for your needs. It depends what you need to do. Lewis is saying Copilot seems clunky. Maybe I'm using it wrong. Yeah, no, you're not. It's not you. Copilot is not very good. So I give workshops to businesses, and one of my main jobs, I charge about $1,000 an hour, or a couple of $1,000s an hour to go in, talk to businesses, teach them how to use artificial intelligence. And whenever I find out that it's a Microsoft-based business, my heart sinks, and I would generally give that workshop to somebody else because I don't want to do them. I used to do them. I used to do workshops where we'd run through how Copilot works and what you can use it for. The problem is it's just not as good as the other kind of external artificial intelligences. So what we found with these companies that were using Copilot was a lot of them were very resistant to AI. And I worked out it's because they were having to use Copilot and it was rubbish. So I would go into the room and be like, hey, what do you think of AI? And they'd be like, that's terrible. And this is because they were using Copilot. But as soon as they saw ChatGPT or Claude or any other model, they're like, oh, this is quite useful. But the problem there is that the IT department of these companies, these enterprises, will be locked in with Microsoft, and they'll want everyone to be using the Microsoft products. They don't want another third-party vendor like OpenAI entering that ecosystem because that is a risk. It's another thing to pay, et cetera, which means these companies end up locked in with Copilot, which isn't very good. So this is why I stopped taking those workshops, because I didn't want to be the person who goes in and says, oh, sucks for you. I'm sorry you have Copilot. What are you going to do? But what ends up happening is the staff members just use ChatGPT on their own computers and on their telephone, which is a real problem because they're not necessarily using paid accounts. They're not necessarily thinking about data protection, etc. But it's just such a better tool than Copilot that this was the solution most people came to, is just to use ChatGPT on their phone and then copy it over onto their computer. Just not ideal. So hopefully Copilot gets better, but right now it is not good. Clunky, I think is you're being very generous there, Clarissa. It's terrible. There's another piece. It's not news, but something I thought was interesting that I want to flag up. Interesting / maybe scary. You can share your chats in ChatGPT. When you do, they are indexed on Google. So people can actually find those chats. And the way you do this, you should do this at home because I think it's worrying. I don't know what to think about this yet, but if you put in SITE : then no space, so one line, so site : chatgpt.com/share. What that does, it's a search modifier in Google, which allows you to search within a certain site. So what that's doing is it's looking at all the websites that Google has indexed, which are chatgpt.com/share. So this is where people have shared their chats to. But what you can do is you can put in another word, so space dream, for example. So site : chatgpt.com/share space dream. I can now look at personal chats people have had with ChatGPT in full. I can see the whole chat about this person's dream. And this has been indexed on Google. So in my dream, I receive a letter from an unknown woman by mail from America. The usual nonsensical but amusing errors occur throughout the narrative. One reason I find dreams fascinating but dismiss the premise of interpretation and analysis as asinine. And then, oh wow, okay, this is a lot of information. The setting mostly seems like the Cubitus house's southwest bedroom, where I've not been since 1978. It was never my bedroom in real life, though I fell asleep on the bed, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes through this person's dream that they've fed into ChatGPT in quite a lot of detail. In real life, I have not handwritten a letter for years, etc., etc. And it goes on. And then it's got ChatGPT's response saying, oh, you had a letter from an unknown woman. Maybe this is the dream reviewing itself, etc., etc. The Cubitus bedroom is maybe a mental archive. It's less about who owned the room and more about what it contained. In dream logic, rooms often symbolize compartments of the psyche, etc. So it has a full breakdown of this Australian man's dream. Because this person has shared it, they might have shared it with a friend, but it's been indexed on Google. So let's do another one. I'm going to do embarrassing. Here we go. Friday mood check. Again, this is publicly available on Google because people have allowed it to be uploaded. They are anonymous. So at the top, it says, this is a copy of a conversation between ChatGPT and Anonymous. So this is a person having a conversation with ChatGPT, trying to work out if it says, Are you being serving everyone or split up into multiple entities? Okay, so they're talking to ChatGPT about what it is. Do clones ever return to the origin, or are you locked out forever from the mothership and locked into whatever digital destination you involuntarily teleported into? So this is somebody discussing with ChatGPT's nature and whether or not it is one being or it's split up over multiple instances, etc. So you can do this. I'm sure I can cite chatgpt.com/share embarrassing rash, warts, cramps, etc. I can put in any word and I can find people online who have had discussions with ChatGPT about these topics, and then they've gone on to share them, probably sharing them with a friend, not realizing that they get shared on the internet like this. And again, this is anonymous. There's nothing identifiable here, but still, this is a bit weird, a bit scary. From a business point of view, you could put in your niche and you could work out what kind of questions people are asking ChatGPT. So let's say I sell board games. Let's see. Here we go. So I can pull up people who are asking for different board games, etc. So I can find out what my potential customers are asking ChatGPT and then use that as customer research. Bit ethically weird, but certainly possible. But I just find the fact that this is indexed very weird. So if you are sharing your chats, be aware of this. That's the main thing that I wanted to get across, because it's a little weird, a little creepy. Cool. So I'm going to go back to questions and then round out for the day. Oh, I think I've done all the questions. Fantastic. As always, there is also a daily newsletter, totally free. You can find the link in my bio. I did change the web address yesterday, so I need to make sure it's changed in my bio as well. I'll do that now. But it is newsletter.aiwithkyle.com. That will sign you up to the newsletter and you'll get the daily update, which is basically a written version of this live, but it's much, much shorter. It just gives you the news pieces. Maybe it covers one or two questions that I've answered, and it gives you the time code to go and watch the full video if you want to see it, just to see that specific part. So it's very useful. I'm trying to grow on YouTube right now. I am getting about 100 people a week, which is not bad. So it's starting to go, but it is a struggle, and it's much, much smaller than my TikTok, which is 140,000, and the other channels. So any support you can give on YouTube is much appreciated, because it really helps us to grow. Any comments as well. If you want to leave a comment for me to cover on a live later, stick it on a video and I will come back to it. No problem at all. And yeah, I think that's it for today. I'm going to be back tomorrow, Friday. Gosh, is it August already? Where did the year go? Terrifying. So I'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, 10 a.m. London time. And thank you so much again for everyone in live asking questions. Really useful. Thank you, Tariq. And I shall see you all tomorrow. Cheers, guys.